as he said, I've been in the media for almost 15 years now. I started in 2004, and I think being a libertarian in the media has taught me a lot of things about the movement in ways that I think that we can apply our ideas the way we want to. I started at Fox News Channel, of all places, in 2004. And my first brush with the liberty movement, other than my own reading, was in 2007, where I went to one of the Republican presidential debates that Fox put on that year. So I was working as a candidate handler, and what that means is you're sort of assigned to a campaign to be the liaison between the campaign and the network. So I was, at one point, I was outside of the room where my candidate was, and I was just sort of observing everything. And there was a bathroom in front of me. And this will be relevant in a second, I promise. So about 5 minutes before the debate, I was standing waiting for my candidate, and you could see like all of the people going into the bathroom because they were just about to spend 2 hours on stage. So they wanted to relieve themselves. So, we've got Mitt Romney, John McCain, all these people going into the bathroom, and they were in there, and I could hear, it was one of those tile bathrooms, so you could hear the voices echoing and all of them talking to each other. And I was standing there just watching this, thinking to myself, what the hell are these people talking about right now? But whatever they're talking about is so much more interesting than what's going to happen on that stage, more than likely. Which all of us can, I think, attest to, that most of the time really was the case. At these debates, people blather on, and not much is talked about. However, that cycle, there was something a little different. And this is at one of the debates that I went to for Fox, where a certain something happened with Ron Paul and Rudy Giuliani, which I think a lot of us here probably remember. And that was a moment that wasn't like that. That was, most of the moments, it would have been a much more interesting to hear the conversation in the bathroom. But not that night, when Dr. Paul got into a scrape with Rudy Giuliani about blowback and foreign policy. And that was something to witness, because the room didn't necessarily react well, and the backstage didn't necessarily react well, and the party didn't necessarily react well. But what's the thing that you remember from those primary debates? It's that. You don't remember anything except that. And that changed things. And that, I think that's a lesson that we should take away. That Dr. Paul had the courage that night to say something that needed to be said. And it worked. And it changed things. And it started changing the conversation. So I went on a little longer at Fox, and I ended up later finding a home somewhere that turned into a great stretch of time for me, which was working with John Stossel on his show and his documentaries. And, people ask me all the time, is John a libertarian? Is he really a libertarian, or does he just kind of play one on TV? So I always answer that question. I tell a story where John and I were sitting watching video that we were working on for a piece. And some status thing or another was happening on the video. And this was, for no reason did John do this. This was unprompted, and we were just watching this, and the video was playing, and he just paused it, and he looked at me, and he just went, "I hate government." And then, and then he didn't say anything else. He just turned and hit play, and then we just went about our job. And I was sitting there just like, okay, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I guess that shows exactly what John is. But lessons to be taken from him are a lot. I mean, he was, I consider him my mentor for sure. Everything I learned about journalism, I feel like I learned from him. And the most important thing is clearly articulating ideas. Like, John has a way of explaining things in a digestible way that people understand that I think is really important, that he can distill things down and just communicate them in a simple, clear, and powerful way. And I think that's something that all of us should remember. Another great part about working there was I started to see these things in action, because I was lucky enough to go around and report on different things happening around the world that are related to the ideas that we care about. You know, going to Portugal to see the results of their drug decriminalization. Going to Massachusetts, there's a Sudbury school there that I went with our reporter, Kennedy, on that show. We went there, and there were... we'll get to her in a second, too. But there were kids there. There were kids there who were learning at a Sudbury school that didn't have teachers, didn't have tests, didn't have anything, and they were learning. And that was also really interesting to see, and something that's great to report on. Went to Texas, where Cody Wilson showed us a 3D printed gun that he had invented. And that just is another thing that just puts into perspective these things, that the way that our movement is out in the world and happening. So the next stop for me was a show called The Independents that I helped launch with Kennedy and Matt Welch from Reason Magazine and Camille Foster from Freethink Media. Those guys now have a great podcast, which I was listening to today, called The Fifth Column. And we launched a show on Fox called The Independents. And, you know, what that taught me was how important it is to have sort of principled, independent, just fierce independence, I guess is the way to put it. And we were sort of the black sheep of Fox on that show. And we got ourselves into some dicey situations, actually, where about halfway through the run, the network made it pretty clear that they weren't happy with the show. And I think a lesson from that was that we kept going, and we fought for the things that we believed in. Even though the deck was stacked against us, even though there was people who didn't like us very much, we kept fighting and doing the best possible shows that we could. And that, you know, it didn't work out for the show, ultimately, but we fought hard, and we built a foundation for the next thing that was coming. And the next thing that was coming was Kennedy, who has her own show now, which is still on. And that, you know, a lot of the seeds of that show were planted from The Independents, and it survives now to this day. And Kennedy herself is someone who I learned a lot from, and who I think, again, encapsulates some of the way that we can communicate with people, where she's authentic. She's one of the most authentic people I've ever met in my life. She's funny, she's smart, and she's herself. And she's authentic, and that's why people connect with her, because she's authentic, and she is who she is, and she lays it out there for people. So that was pretty much the end of my time at Fox, and I was really proud to have worked with these people. The Judge is another one. I'm sure a lot of you like Judge Napolitano, who I'm proud to call a friend and a mentor, where it was great to be able to walk down the hall when I had a question about liberty and talk to the judge about it. And he obviously taught me how important just rock-ribbed philosophy is, and believing something, and knowing what you believe, and understanding it. Because God knows he does. So after that, I went and I became a reporter, local reporter in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, where I'm from. And in some ways that was sort of, it brings the bridge to where we are now. That I learned the most, and I think I learned maybe the most about this movement that we care so much about. Because people, I was a business reporter up until yesterday, actually. So I was once from the most hated group of people possibly in America, the media, and now I'm considering running for Congress strongly in our district, which would make me slightly less hated, maybe, but probably just as hated. At any rate, so the thing about being a local reporter is every day I was out there talking to businesses, talking to workers, talking to regular people all around our community every day. And I heard a lot of the same things that have stuck with me and really made me realize how important this is what we do. Because people are just so tired and disgusted, and these businesses just want the government away from them and out of their lives, and they're not necessarily sitting around like we are, you know, reading Hayek and things, and they're not necessarily even sitting around their dinner tables talking about some of these ideas, although I think they are more than sometimes people think they are. But they're feeling these things, and they're feeling the strain of the government badly affecting their lives, and they're hearing all of what's going on in Washington and elsewhere, and they're disgusted, and they're tired, and both of the parties, the major political parties, or at least the two that consider themselves major, have broken down and are imploding. And I think that there is a real realignment happening, which is why I think that this is such an important time for us. And this is such a pivotal time where really there's something in the air. There are weird political winds blowing in the United States right now. Very strange winds. And I think that it's the time for us to stand up and really fight for what we believe in and give people something to believe in again, I guess. Because there's nothing there for them right now. And that's what I keep hearing, and that's what I keep feeling as I go around my community. And that's why I'm here today. So it's great talking to all of you. Thank you very much for welcoming me here. Everyone's inspired me so far, and I look forward to talking to you more. And that's it. Thank you very much.